it's Lee from ColouringQueen.net, and I just want to show you some of the Colouring Heaven magazines that came in while we were in Sydney, and I think I've shown a few of them before in my colouring book haul, but a couple came in after I'd filmed that, as is always the way. So the first one I want to show you is the latest one. It's the Nouveau Fantasy Special from Herb Leonard. Now, Herb Leonard does beautiful fantasy colouring books, but to be honest, I don't actually own any of them, and there's a simple reason for that. The shipping costs to Australia have always been a little bit outside of my colouring budget. So for those that don't know, I have a really set budget, I'm really strict on it, and there's often, books that I don't buy because I'll go over budget. So I was super rapt when this edition came in the mail because it meant that I was finally able to experience some of the gorgeous artwork of this artist. So this one is basically all fantasy. So I've got lots of dragons and unicorns, and it's really great line art. You can see very distinctive the black outlines of the items in the foreground and then the lighter items in the background. So you can get a real painterly effect with his artwork, and see how some of this is very sort of painterly so that you can draw in your own detail or do like a wash. And that's the great thing about Colouring Heaven. In this stash that I've got, there are many artists that they've managed to be their featured artists for their magazine that are generally out of reach for some colourists because of the cost of shipping the book. But this way you get to experience 40 illustrations of a particular artist, and they're all high quality artists. They're all just beautiful, unique, original artwork. So if you subscribe to Colouring Heaven, you get 13 editions each year of the magazine, and there's no leeway on the artwork. It is always a really high quality artist with 40 really great illustrations, not filler pages or wallpaper style pages, but beautiful, unique artwork. Look at this gorgeous unicorn. And then as well, they also have special editions of their magazine as well. They're not included in the regular subscription, but they are worthwhile getting too. They've got like a gorgeous Christmas one that they had last year. And they had a sneak peek on Facebook the other day of one of their upcoming featured artists, which is of course the lovely Hannah Lynn, one of my favourite artists. So I can't wait to see if that's in a special edition or in the regular Colouring Heaven magazine subscription. Now for Australians, we get our subscription later than the UK because it comes from the UK, has to go through the shipping and customs process. So sometimes we're 2 weeks out, sometimes we're 4 weeks out, and some of these I've noticed that have been 6 weeks out. Now I have managed to get this magazine before in Australia at Big W and at a local newsagent's, but often there is a big delay and often it's hard to find, so the subscription for Australians is really the easiest way of guaranteeing it will get to your door. Now in the UK you can get it quite easily either via the subscription model, or you can buy one-offs from the website, and because they're based in the UK, it's going to be easier to post to you. Or you can just get it at your local supermarket. It's available at most of the well-known supermarkets in the UK, so You can get it very, very quickly. US, again, you have the same problems with the shipping, having to wait for it to get there, but it's much easier if you just subscribe. At least you know that you're not going to miss out. So often they have a special deal at the back. So this one is a lower cost subscription. So you can save 35%. And international readers, we can also save as well. You can colour the front and back as well because it's matte paper. And as always, there is a lovely foiled title. And all the issues are numbered down here on the side. So if you're storing them vertically, then you're going to be able to see them easily. Now the other one I got in the mail was the lovely Micah Jelenkas. And I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that correctly. Now I've loved this artist for so long, but it was only last year, just before Christmas, that I was actually able to purchase some of her artwork. The reason for that is quite simple. Again, it comes back to that nasty colouring budget. And even though Micah has digital downloads in her Etsy store, the cost of those downloads when converted to the Australian dollar is actually quite high. For US and UK, your currency is a bit stronger than Australia. We're more like Canada in dollar-wise or currency-wise. And so I wasn't able to buy anything from Micah's shop until she had a special on just before Christmas. So thankfully I got some gorgeous little PDF downloads because I just adore her artwork. These gothic fairies, they're just gorgeous. And she's got others in her shop on Etsy that are super cute. She's got interesting styles, some are really gothic and manga looking, and then some are just so cute and cuddly looking. They're just adorable. She's got great artwork, great styles, and she does fabulous hair. It's so easy to colour in. So there might be other people that have been in the same situation as me, really wanting Micah's artwork, but the price has just been a little bit out of reach. So again, that's the great thing about this magazine. You're getting 40 illustrations for, a lot less than the digital downloads on a store. Now, one thing I'm not keen on is that some of her hair and hats in this edition have been a little bit cut off. I guess you could put a little frame, draw a little frame around it so it's not so noticeable. But isn't this gorgeous? I mean, even if you never coloured these in, they're just so beautiful to look at. Look at all these folds. And because it's single page, you can use your markers on here if you wanted to, or to get a bit of a head start colouring over all the dark. But I would put blotter behind it because the paper is thin to medium. It's certainly not as thick as some paper, but definitely good paper for a magazine. Isn't this gorgeous? Look at all those beautiful little ringlets. I like how she's mixed up the dark grayscale and the line art, because then you can really see which one, takes your fancy more. Isn't this one just beautiful? And she's got the date down there when she drew this piece. Imagine this is like a fire and ice type colouring. Look at this. This is one of my fave pictures in this magazine. Her in the lolly shop. Oh, look at those. Bubblegum machine, then all of the lollies, and I think these are sherbet bombs. Just makes me hungry. And we've got Tawny, and it looks like she leaves a little trail of destruction in her path. And the gorgeous temple. Of course you can cover those covers as well. Then we've got the beautiful Momo Girl Timeless Beauty Special. And Momo Girl's the Korean artist. You might remember her from Girl with Poem or Girl with Music. And because those books are Korean and there's no English imprint of them, they are actually quite expensive, not only to purchase, but also to ship. So having the magazine is certainly a cheaper option if you wanted to experience her artwork. Now, unfortunately, what happens with Colouring Heaven is the artists that they attract to be their featured artists in these magazines, they're just so good that they sell out really quickly. So this is already sold out, unfortunately. But if you were subscribed, you would get it in the mail. Or if you don't like the subscription model, and I know a lot of people don't because they want to see, you know, what the artist is rather than just have any artist every month, which is understandable, but the artists that they attract are beautiful artists. Then as soon as you see that Colouring Heaven have released a new magazine, you can either buy it online from their store, and I'll put a link below, or you can check out your local retailer. In the UK, that's so easy. You can just go into Tesco's and buy it, you know, like the next day. Whereas, you know, in Australia and the US, it's just not that easy. And Momo Girl does the most beautiful hair and the most expressive faces. She's just a fabulous artist. Now, even though I do have Girl with Poem, I'll still be using the magazine just to try out colour palettes and ideas before I touch the beautiful book. This is the cover art from Girl with Poem. Now the last one is the gorgeous Dragons in Nature special by the amazing, talented Anastasia, and I can't pronounce her last name, I really can't. Now I do have her colouring book and it is absolutely stunning. It's spiral bound and beautiful paper, and of course it's expensive because it is a very thick book, and because of the paper quality, the spiral binding, all of those things, the shipping cost, which is based on the weight. So having this artist in a magazine is a great way for all of the colourists that found the colouring book out of the budget, and you still get to enjoy the beautiful artwork. Now the pictures aren't filling the whole page, so it does make them smaller and a little bit harder to see, especially if you have a minor visual impairment. But certainly not beyond reach with a magnifying lamp. And she does dragons like no other dragons that I've seen. They're so intricate and detailed, and they really are just so gorgeous. Isn't this one stunning? Look at all that detail. And look how small this dragon is in comparison to the little berries around him. He's just tiny. So it makes you wonder, maybe you've got one in the garden and you might not have noticed because they're a lot smaller than I thought they would be. Imagine doing all these scales, different colours, and adding highlights. Dragons are so much fun for colourists. So look at how this dragon is so small in comparison to the berries that he's sitting on. So they're tiny, they're like little fairies, some of them, in perspective. And she uses a lot of little black dots, little pointillism there to do the shading, which is very effective. It's not as harsh as full-coloured black. I would just draw a frame around it to neaten it up a bit if you wanted to frame it. Look at this gorgeous one. You could imagine that in a frame. It looks virtually 3D. So there we have it, my bundle of Colouring Heaven magazines, all by top quality, amazing artists, all something different, whether you like dragons or animals or fairies or portraits. So something for everyone. In Australia, you can get it locally at Big W or at your local newsagents, or perhaps even ask them to order it in for you. Easiest way though is to subscribe either for a one-off issue if an issue takes your fancy, or for the monthly subscription so that you get all 13 each year. In the UK, you can get it easily from the local supermarket, and in the US and Canada, your options are pretty similar to Australia's options. So that's it from me. Until next time, happy colouring.